After a 13-year hiatus, The X-Files is coming back, not just in reruns. Eli Glasner is here, not just to whistle through my intro,
I
but
could.
to add some content.
Created by Chris Carter, The X-Files, a science fiction drama about two FBI agents solving paranormal and unraveling alien conspiracies, quickly developed a cult following and somehow made it cool to stay in on Fridays to watch television. However, there was more to the movie than paranormal events. Here are 20 weird facts about the beloved show that you may not know. Number 20. The theme tune was based on The Smiths. The popular whistling sound in the theme of The X-Files was influenced by the Smiths song How Soon Is Now, which appeared on their album Meat is Murder, released in 1985. People familiar with the Smiths might know the same track from the beginning of the supernatural-themed series Charmed, where it was performed by the 90s alternative rock band Love Spit Love. The same song also featured in the 1996 film The Craft, which focused on paranormal themes. Composer Mark Snow came up with the whistle, but he was still having a hard time creating a melody for the theme. Although he had worked on television music before, this was his first attempt to make something for a science fiction series, and he found the task challenging. While experimenting with sounds, Snow pressed his forearm against the keyboard. Without meaning to, he turned on the delay effect. That accidental change created an echoing sound. He brought the sound to Chris Carter, who liked what he heard. Once the echo was added to the earlier whistle, the theme music began to take shape. In 1996, a remix of the X-Files theme by a group called Triple X became popular in clubs. Even with its eerie tone, the remix reached number 2 in the charts in the United Kingdom, France, and Australia. Despite being meant for a science fiction television show, the theme found its way into a completely different space. Number 19. Chris Carter got the idea for The X-Files from a real-life report on alien abduction. Chris Carter first thought of The X-Files after reading a report by John E. Mack, a psychiatrist from Harvard, known for his research on individuals who believed aliens had abducted them. Mack's work, which came out in the early 1990s, said that 3,700,000 people in the United States believed they had gone through an abduction. That number caught Carter's attention and led him to build a series that focused on unusual cases. He later shared the idea with the Fox network. There were a few minor issues at the start, but the network accepted the idea. The X-Files was launched in 1993. Carter said stories about alien abductions felt familiar to people, almost like a belief system, and he thought the public wanted to see more of them. Earlier television shows helped him shape the direction of his work. Moonlighting, a show from the late 1980s with no aliens in it, still gave Carter something helpful. Its two lead characters had a tense, shifting relationship, which he later echoed through the roles of Mulder and Scully. Another influence was Kolchak, The Night Stalker, a show from the 1970s about a reporter in Chicago who looked into unusual crimes. It had a quiet, watchful tone that Carter liked. He also looked to older shows such as The Twilight Zone, which often ended with a message and told a different story each time. Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which focused on crime and tension, gave him another way to build suspense. All of these elements helped shape The X-Files into something that maintained a strong connection between strange events and the people who experienced them. Number 18. In real life, Scully is the believer and Mulder is the skeptic. When Chris Carter created the main characters for The X-Files, he chose to reverse the usual way male and female roles were written. He made Fox Mulder the one who believed in the unexplained, and Dana Scully the one who trusted science. This was a clear choice when the show began in 1993. At that time, most male characters were portrayed as logical, while female characters were often depicted as more emotional. Carter changed that by letting feelings and the woman lead the man by reason. However, in real life, actors David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson did not share the same views as the characters they played, which added another layer to their roles. Gillian Anderson, who acted as the doubting Scully, was personally interested in things beyond science. In a 1994 interview with Entertainment Weekly, she said she was drawn to ideas such as moving objects with the mind, knowing things without proof, and being able to sense the future. She said she loved thinking about such things. In another interview with The Guardian, She spoke about life in the universe. She said that given the vastness of the universe, it seemed unlikely that Earth was the only place with life. Though she did not claim to know if aliens were real, she said she believed it was possible. This point of view was more like Mulder's, the character who thought, than Scully's, the one who needed proof. David Duchovny, who played the believer Mulder, had a more questioning view in real life. When speaking with James Corden on The Late Late Show, he said he had a hard time believing in stories of abductions. When he first began acting, he would read letters from fans that talked about being taken by aliens. Instead of making him believe, those letters made him feel sad. He saw those stories as signs of private pain, not as proof of alien life. This way of thinking was more in line with Scully's search for facts than with Mulder's strong beliefs. The way the actors held views opposite to their roles added depth to the show's narrative, demonstrating how Carter carefully developed the characters. Number 17. Scully was inspired by Clarice Starling from The Silence of the Lambs. Chris Carter found a strong influence for the character of Dana Scully in The X-Files in Clarice Starling, the well-known character from the 1991 film The Silence of the Lambs. During a question-and-answer event held at the National Museum of American History under the Smithsonian Institution, Carter shared this detail while donating several items from the show. Among the items was Fox Mulder's I Want to Believe poster. At that event, Carter explained that Scully's red hair was not a random choice. It was intended to replicate the appearance of Clarice Starling, as portrayed by Jodie Foster. Gillian Anderson's look in the first years of The X-Files, which began in 1993, was carefully designed to resemble Foster's, helping to establish the link between the two characters. The similarities extended beyond their appearance. Dana Scully and Clarice Starling had a similar style of dressing. They both wore neat, simple suits, suited to the serious nature of their work. Their movements and speech demonstrated self-control and clear focus. Both were known for thinking carefully, and both took on their work with steady, determined minds. Scully worked in a world filled with unexplained cases, but like Starling, she kept her trust in reason. As The X-Files continued, Scully grew beyond the image of Starling. Her work with Mulder and the things she faced helped shape her into a separate person with her own story. The ties between these characters continued beyond The X-Files. Gillian Anderson later played the role of Bedelia du Maurier, Hannibal Lecter's psychiatrist and later his partner, in the television series Hannibal. This brought her into the world that began with The Silence of the Lambs. Jodie Foster also became part of The X-Files in a different way. In the Season 4 episode Never Again, which aired in 1997, she lent her voice to a talking tattoo. These moments showed how Carter's early idea to build Scully from Starling's model led to lasting links between the two stories. Number 16. Fox wanted to replace Anderson with a bombshell. When The X-Files was being developed in 1993, studio heads at Fox pushed for a well-known and physically striking actress to take the role of Dana Scully. They dismissed Gillian Anderson, who at the time was not widely known, saying she did not fit the image they wanted. Their idea for the female lead was based more on outward appearance than on depth of character. Chris Carter, the creator of the series, refused to accept this approach. He was clear that Scully had to be a serious character, one with intelligence and presence, not someone placed next to Fox Mulder for romantic effect. Carter's decision to keep Anderson in the role protected the original vision of a thoughtful and capable agent. In a newspaper interview with the Chicago Tribune 2006, Gillian Anderson spoke about Carter's role in changing how women were shown on television. She said his refusal to give in to pressure had helped push television away from empty female roles toward characters who felt real and layered. She expressed that his choice to cast her at that time became part of a shift in the 1990s that allowed female roles to grow beyond surface traits. Anderson said Carter's decision made a mark not only on how women were written and acted on screen, but also on how people around the world saw them. The pushback against Anderson's casting was not only from network leaders. David Duchovny, who was already chosen to play Fox Mulder, had suggested his college friend Jennifer Beals for the role of Scully. Beals was already known for her work in the 1983 film Flashdance. If she had taken the part, the tone of the series would likely have been different, shaped by her existing fame and acting style. Even with this added pressure, Carter did not change course. His decision to keep Anderson in the role set the direction for the series and became part of a larger shift in how female characters were portrayed. Scully's presence in the show helped pave new ground for complex women on television, influencing both storytelling and how viewers perceived these roles worldwide. Number 15. Anderson filmed a lot of scenes standing on a box. There was a height difference of 9 inches between the two lead actors. Gillian Anderson stood at 5 feet 3 inches, while David Duchovny stood at 6 feet. Because of this, for scenes where their characters stood face to face, Anderson had to be raised to allow the camera to frame them evenly. In moments when Dana Scully and Fox Mulder shared quiet or tense conversations, Anderson often had to stand on a wooden box to close the height gap between them. These scenes made up a large part of the series, which meant Anderson spent a great deal of time elevated on the box during filming. The crew gave the box a name of its own. They called it the Gilly Board. The box was made specifically for Anderson. It raised her just enough so that her scenes with Duchovny would appear balanced on the screen. Without it, the height difference would have made the shot awkward and more challenging to frame within the limits of television staging. In an older interview with US Magazine, Anderson spoke about the box and how it became a part of her filming experience. She said there were moments during intense scenes when she became so involved in the emotion of the moment that she forgot she was standing on the box. She explained that in one of those moments, after turning to the camera at the end of a serious exchange, she lost her footing and fell off the edge. It was a quiet example of how the technical aspects of filming could blend seamlessly into the emotional work being done in front of the camera. Number 14. The show was one of the first to get a television mature audience. Only rating the Season 4 episode titled Home became the first episode of The X-Files to receive a TVMA rating. It was also the first episode on any United States network television show to receive that rating. The episode followed the Monster of the Week format, focusing on a secluded and inbred family that Mulder and Scully encountered on a farm in Pennsylvania. It aired only once on Fox and was then pulled from the schedule. The network decided not to show it again, and it was not seen on television until 1997. Glenn Morgan and James Wong wrote the episode. They later explained that the idea for the story came from several sources. One of them was the 1992 documentary Brother's Keeper, which focused on a murder case involving an isolated rural family. Another influence was a passage in Charlie Chaplin's autobiography. In the account, Chaplin described a stay in a tenement house. While there, the family who owned the house invited him upstairs. They then showed him their son, who was a quadruple amputee. They kept the boy hidden under the bed. Once Chaplin was in the room, the family pulled the boy out. While the family sang and danced, the child moved his body on the floor. This account became one of the inspirations behind the story told in Home. The writers used this detail to shape the television script, tying it to the broader themes of secrecy, suffering, and isolation. The result was a broadcast episode that stood out from the rest of the series, both in its content and in the way the network handled it. Number 13. Scully's abduction in Season 2 was a cover for Anderson's maternity leave. In Season 2, Scully disappears for several episodes after she is taken aboard what appears to be an alien ship. Her abduction begins in the episode titled Ascension. This storyline was created because Gillian Anderson became pregnant during the first season of the show. At the time, Fox wanted to bring in a new actress to replace her, but Chris Carter refused. He also said he would not include a pregnancy in the storyline for Scully's character. To handle the changes, the production team spent several episodes filming Anderson from the waist up or using props to block her abdomen. These methods worked for a while, but by the final episodes of Season 1, the pregnancy had become more noticeable. Carter changed the original story plan. He ended Season 1 by closing the X-Files and sending Mulder and Scully to different locations. This gave Anderson fewer scenes and allowed her to step away for a short period. In Season 2, Scully's character is abducted. She is gone for 3 episodes while Anderson takes maternity leave. She returns in the episode titled One Breath. where Scully is found unconscious in a hospital bed. No one knows who brought her there. This return is left without a full explanation. Her disappearance and return are not only part of the Season 2 plot, but also serve as the foundation for several later story arcs in the series. The decision to write her absence as an abduction allowed the show to expand its mythological storyline in future seasons. Number 12. Nicholas Lee, who plays Alex Krycek, made a brief appearance in another episode. When Gillian Anderson was away from the show, the alien adoption was not enough to keep fans entertained, so Chris Carter had to find a way to hold the audience's attention while Gillian Anderson was away from the show. He introduced a new character named Agent Alex Krycek as a stand-in partner for Fox Mulder. At first, Krycek came across as supportive and respectful of Mulder's work on the X-Files, but over time, his proper role was revealed. He became one of the show's central adversaries, secretly working under the cigarette-smoking man as a planted agent. Nicholas Lee, who played Krycek, had already appeared in the series before taking on that part. In the first season episode titled Gender Bender, he played a club-goer named Michelle, who had a sexual encounter with a being that could shift between male and female forms. The role of Krycek was first offered to Callum Keith Rennie, known for his later work on Battlestar Galactica, but he declined the offer. The producers then gave the part to Leia. There were early talks of writing Krycek out if Leia's performance fell short, but he kept the character alive through his acting, and Krycek ended up appearing across 8 seasons. Throughout his time on the show, Krycek worked behind the scenes for different groups, including the Syndicate and the Men in Black. His loyalties often shifted. Though he was not present in every episode, his character returned at different points to further the show's storylines until he was killed in the final season. Number 11. X was originally meant to be female. The character of X was first written to be a woman, and actress Natalia Nogulich was chosen for the part. She began filming and completed one scene, but was replaced shortly afterward. The writers felt that she did not develop the right working relationship with the other cast members. After her departure, the role was given to Stephen Williams. Although writers Glenn Morgan and James Wong had worked with Williams before, it was Chris Carter who recommended him for the part. Williams played X as a direct contrast to Jerry Hardin's character. Deep Throat had been presented as someone who sacrificed for a greater cause, while X was built to be careful, nervous, and more self-centered. Before the episode One Breath, Glenn Morgan believed that X did not stand out to the viewers and seemed too much like a repeat of Deep Throat. Morgan thought Williams had the skill to stay in the series longer, so he added a scene where X kills several people who had witnessed him meeting with Fox Mulder. Morgan felt this action showed how X differed from Deep Throat, who had risked everything to reveal the truth, while X was driven by fear and the need to protect himself. Williams never attempted to create a backstory for X. He felt that knowing less about the character kept the performance more focused and engaging. He once explained that the less he understood the man, the more interesting it was to play him. Williams also had experience in fight choreography from his work on the 1985 film Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. This helped him create physical scenes for the character, including a fight with Mitch Pileggi's character Walter Skinner in the episode End Game. Williams also drew inspiration from the television series Spencer for Hire. He modeled some parts of X's behavior on the character Hawk, played by Avery Brooks. Although many now associate Stephen Williams completely with the role of X, the part had first been offered to Nogulich, who was known for her work on Star Trek: The Next Generation. The producers replaced her after one scene because the interaction between her and the other actors did not meet the creator's expectations. X replaced Deep Throat as Mulder's new contact, but the two characters were not alike in their purpose or attitude. Deep Throat had shown calm and self-sacrifice, while X showed nervousness and a focus on self-preservation. Morgan once explained the contrast by saying, Deep Throat was the type of man who gave up his life to release a secret, while X was the type of man who remained afraid. Williams's performance gained attention from the public and critics. In 2009, Entertainment Weekly placed him at number 17 on its list of 20 black science fiction icons. Number 10. Scully originally had a boyfriend in the plot. In the original pilot of the series, Scully had a boyfriend named Ethan Minette. His character was created after executives at Fox raised concerns about the nature of Mulder and Scully's relationship. They believed it lacked enough romantic tension to keep audiences engaged. Chris Carter initially agreed to the addition and allowed Ethan to be included in early drafts and filmed scenes. However, after reviewing the pilot's direction, Carter decided to remove the character entirely. He believed the connection between Mulder and Scully offered something more valuable. The unique trust and bond between the two agents, built on shared experiences and silent understanding, seemed stronger without another love interest in the mix. Carter felt that their partnership already held enough complexity to carry the show. Over time, the relationship between Mulder and Scully evolved. Though they began as partners with no romantic involvement, the tension between them became one of the show's lasting threads. Eventually, the two characters moved from partnership into a deeper relationship. By the time of the 2008 film The X-Files, I Want to Believe, they were living as a couple. However, when the show returned for its 10th season, it was revealed that they had separated. The change in their relationship was not explained in great detail, but it was clear that time and circumstance had driven them apart. Their bond remained intact, although it was no longer romantic. The decision to remove Ethan Minette in the early stages shaped how audiences would come to understand and connect with the core of the series. Number 9. Vince Gilligan started out on The X-Files as a freelancer. Vince Gilligan is now widely recognized for creating the crime drama Breaking Bad, but his early success began in the 1990s when he joined The X-Files as a freelancer. Gilligan had been a fan of the series and submitted a script to Fox, which became the Season 2 episode titled Soft Light. After the episode aired, he was brought on as a full-time staff writer in 1995. He went on to write 29 episodes and produced 44 episodes throughout the show. In 1997, Gilligan was nominated for an Emmy Award alongside Chris Carter, Frank Spotnitz, and Josh Shiban for their work on the Season 4 episode Memento Mori. In that episode, Scully and Mulder searched through various leads in their effort to find a cure for Scully's cancer. Gilligan's writing continued to shape many of the show's storylines, blending character-driven moments with science fiction elements. In 2001, Gilligan co-created The Lone Gunman, a spin-off series from The X-Files. He also served as a producer on the series. The show featured characters who had been recurring figures in the original series. It ran for 13 episodes before it was canceled, due to low ratings. Though the show was short-lived, it extended the universe that The X-Files had built. Gilligan received a slight nod in the 2008 film The X-Files, I Want to Believe. As Mulder scrolls through his phone contacts looking for Scully's number, the name Gilligan appears briefly on screen. Moments later, Mulder becomes distracted and crashes his car. Number 8. Anderson was only offered half the pay of her co-star. Stories about unequal pay between male and female actors in Hollywood have been told for many years. Therefore, it was not surprising that in 1993, Gillian Anderson was offered only half of what David Duchovny was to be paid for The X-Files. The two were co-stars. They worked the same hours. They had the same number of story arcs. Yet, Anderson had to wait 3 years before the pay gap was closed. This treatment behind the scenes went against everything Anderson believed in. It also went against what her on-screen character, Dana Scully, represented. The character was a Federal Bureau of Investigation agent and a medical doctor. She had become a strong presence in popular culture. While the character was making an impression on screen, Anderson was making her own mark by standing firm and refusing to accept anything less than fair treatment. Many years later, when Anderson agreed to return for the revival of the series, she was again offered only 50% of Duchovny's pay. She spoke about the issue during an interview with the Daily Beast. She said that people had often asked her in the past how she felt about the first time it happened. Her reply had always been, "That was then, this is now, but then it happened again." Her comment to that was, "I do not even know what to say about it." In the end, even though the network had tried once more to underpay her, both Anderson and Duchovny received equal pay for Season 10. Number 7. Kim Manners makes a post-death appearance, but not the kind you're thinking of in life. Kim Manners was known for his work on The X-Files and Supernatural. He worked on The X-Files from 1995 until 2002. During that time, he directed 52 episodes, making him the most frequent director on the show. That number made up more than 1/4 of the entire series. He also directed the final episode of the original run in 2002. In addition to directing, he wrote and produced several episodes of the series. He was nominated, along with other members of the crew, for 4 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Drama Series in the years 1995, 1996, 1997, and 1998. On set, he was known for being very detailed in his direction. He was also known for the way he expressed himself when a scene did not go as expected. This habit became part of the show's legacy. In the 3rd season episode titled Jose Chung's From Outer Space, there's a character named Detective Manners, who uses crude language. The character was named after Kim Manners. Kim Manners died in 2009 from lung cancer. His death occurred 1 year after the release of the second X-Files film. In 2016, during the revival series, the staff paid tribute to him. In the episode Mulder and Scully Meet the Were-Monster, there is a scene where Mulder rests against Manners' real gravestone. The headstone displays his date of birth, his date of death, and the words, "Let's kick it in the ass." Manners were also remembered outside of the X-Files. The 4th season of Supernatural and 1 episode from the 2nd season of Breaking Bad were both dedicated to him. Number 6. Bruce Campbell was nearly Mulder. It is difficult to imagine the X-Files reaching the same level of success without David Duchovny in the lead role, but the decision to cast him came late in the production stage. During the early discussions, some of the network executives had another actor in mind. Bruce Campbell was seen as a strong option. In the early years of the 1990s, he had already established a name for himself in supernatural roles and was known to draw in the kind of viewers the network wanted to target. Despite that early interest, Bruce Campbell was not selected. The role went to David Duchovny, and the direction of the show was set. Campbell remained in the world of cult cinema, where his loyal audience had long appreciated him. Number 5. Smoke It Till You Make It. In the pilot episode of The X-Files, the character known as the Cigarette Smoking Man appeared briefly without dialogue. He was played by William B. Davis and was placed quietly in the background. At that point, he was only meant to be an extra with no major involvement in the storyline. As the first season progressed, the character began to reappear in smaller scenes. He remained silent, but his presence was noticed. He was often seen smoking a cigarette, and that image began to stand out. Chris Carter, the creator of the series, took note of how the character seemed to carry a quiet weight in those moments. Slowly, the writers gave the character more space in the story. Over time, the role expanded. The cigarette smoking man became part of the main plot. He was written into the deeper storylines that dealt with government secrets and hidden agendas. What began as a minor presence evolved into a significant figure. He was eventually placed at the center of the larger mystery that drove the show forward. Through that gradual change, The X-Files gave a silent extra a larger purpose, turning him into a key figure in its main story. Despite its beauty, there are other unusual facts about him. Here is another one. Number 4. William B. Davis hadn't smoked for 20 years before playing the cigarette smoking man. William B. Davis had stopped smoking 20 years before he took on the role of the cigarette smoking man in The X-Files. When he first appeared in the series during the first season, his character was mostly silent and stood in the background. Over time, the role grew. The cigarette smoking man became the main antagonist in the show and one of the most recognized television characters of that period. He was known for being surrounded by a constant cloud of cigarette smoke, which became part of his image. At the time he accepted the role, Davis did not expect the series to last long enough for it to be a concern. He believed it would be a short-term commitment and did not think the smoking would continue for very long. He later admitted that he had underestimated the importance of the role. As the series progressed and the character appeared more frequently, Davis transitioned from real cigarettes to herbal ones. Number 3. None of the badges in the show actually say Federal Bureau of Investigation. It is against the law to create a fake badge for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, even for use in a television series or film. As a result, the team behind the X-Files made minor adjustments to prevent legal issues. The badges used on set were not exact copies. They were adjusted in ways that would not be noticed at a glance but were enough to stay within the rules. In the opening title sequence of the show, if looked at closely, the text does not say Federal Bureau of Investigation. Instead, the words are rearranged. The badge reads, the Federal Bureau of Justice, United States, Department of Investigation. This change allowed the production to move forward without breaking any laws while still maintaining the appearance required for the story. Number 2. The show was supposed to end in Season 5. Chris Carter had planned for the X-Files to run on television for 5 seasons. After that, the story would continue through a series of films. The goal was to draw more attention to the project and expand its production scale. The idea was to conclude the television part of the story at the end of the 5th season and adapt the rest of the story for the big screen. As the 5th season came to a close, the network was not ready to let the series end. The X-Files had become one of the most watched and financially successful shows on television. Instead of ending the series, Fox asked Carter to create a feature film while also preparing a 6th season for television. This decision meant that the story had to be told in 2 different formats simultaneously. Balancing the ongoing storyline of the series with the demands of a standalone film proved difficult. The structure of a movie required certain elements to stand alone, while the television series needed to continue with its complex plot. For many viewers, the 2 approaches did not blend well. The attempt to carry both formats in parallel created a challenge that was not easily solved. Number 1. Layla Harrison was actually a tribute to a fan who had died. The writers of The X-Files paid close attention to the stories written by fans. As the series gained a loyal following during the rise of home internet use, it became one of the first shows to have a fan base that could write and share its fiction online. Fan-written stories became a large part of the show's culture, and the writers behind the scenes often read them. One of those writers was Layla Harrison. She was known in the fan community for the stories she wrote about Mulder and Scully. When she died of cancer, the show's creators decided to honor her. They introduced a new character named Agent Layla Harrison. The character was portrayed as someone who admired Mulder and Scully, much like the real person had. Through this choice, the writers paid a quiet tribute to a fan who had closely followed the story and become part of its larger world. Very rarely is there a phenomenon as significant as the X-Files. What do you have to say about these unexpected facts? Let's hear from you in the comments. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and enable notifications for more movie facts from us.